Hello and welcome to episode 42 of TeachTechPlay. I'm Eleni Kyritsis, the host and founder of TeachTechPlay. Today we've got a fantastic show with some awesome educators from across Australia, and they'll be sharing a range of technologies that you can use in your classroom. Now, before we get started and I introduce these wonderful presenters, I'd like to congratulate last month's winner, John, and he shared Flipgrid with us. So make sure that if you haven't seen that episode, you do check that out, because I know Flipgrid is an amazing tool and you used to have to pay for it, but now that Microsoft has purchased it, it is free for educators, which is amazing. So make sure you do follow that up, and especially if you are in the Northern Hemisphere and you are going back to the new school year, it is a great tool to incorporate at the start of the year. So let's get started. I'll get all my presenters to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about themselves. So Adam, do you want to say hello?
G'day everyone, my name's Adam Vardanega. I'm a e-learning leader at Rosebud Secondary College. I'm also a Google Certified Innovator.
Thanks, Adam. And we've had you at every TeachTechPlay conference, and I don't know how I have not had you on the show yet. So
I know, it's a first go this time, so it
yeah,
should be.
bad by me. And we've had Sam a number of times, but never you. So glad to have you, and we'll definitely be getting you again on the show, because I know
Thanks
your
very
sessions
much.
have always been a hit. Next, I'll have Jacinta, if you want to introduce yourself.
Okay, hello, I'm Jacinta. I'm the Digital Technologies Key Teacher at St Bridget's Catholic School. So I have a Year 3 class, and we're one-to-one with iPads. So we use the Google Suite as well as having one-to-one iPads. And I love tech, so thanks for having me, Eleni.
No problem, Jacinta. And I got to be introduced to you through TeachTechPlay, which is amazing to get you on the show as well. And that just reminds everyone who is watching, if you do have something that you would like to share, please reach out to me. We are always looking for presenters. Next up, we have Paul. And Paul, we've had you before on the show, and I used to work with you, but now you've moved across Australia and we don't get to see each other too much. So it's good to have you on the show again.
Yeah, thanks, Eleni. Warm welcome from Adelaide, South Australia. And yes, I'm the head of e-learning at Portside Christian College. And that's a job that encompasses looking at everything from what's going on at different year levels, iPads, Chromebooks, Windows laptops, through to, getting stuck into the classroom and helping kids.
Perfect. Great to have you here. And any other teachers in South Australia, make sure you reach out to Paul. He's doing wonderful things. And a veteran of the show who we love to get on, who's always great, who always has something new to share, is Trent. So Trent Ray, your title has changed, I think, every single time you're on the show. So tell us what you're up to these days.
Hi everyone, and thanks for having me again, Eleni. So yeah, my title does change a fair bit. I've obviously been a teacher for a long time, but I support schools for my own consultancy called Collective Education. I also run a company called the Cyber Safety Project with my colleague Sam. So we get into schools and help them with cyber safety curriculum and concepts. But today I'm going to be sharing some stuff about the MicroBit for
Perfect.
Microsoft.
Perfect. Thanks, Trent. And yes, we did have Sam on a few episodes ago. So make sure, if you want to know more about the Cyber Safety Project, provides incursions and teacher support and parent info nights as well around digital safety and cyber safety and everything in that space. So make sure you reach out or watch that episode to find out more. So yeah, we have a great lineup of presenters. So before we get started, I just want to share with everyone the voting slides. So make sure that you head over to teachtechplay.com/web show. And this is where you can find all our previous episodes and how to vote for your favorite presenter today. We've also got our blog and a whole range of resources there. And teachers, especially on our educators of TeachTechPlay, that you can reach out to as well and connect with from all over the world. So today, Adam, you'll be kicking us off first. So let me know when you are ready and I will start the timer.
No worries. Okay, I'll just share this in. All right, good to go, Eleni.
Perfect. Off you go.
Okay, so everyone, what I figured I'd talk about today is just a little bit of efficiency in using Google Chrome. Anything that we can do to save a little bit of, I suppose, time whenever we're doing things is always really useful. So this little quick go over is getting sharp with your keyboard and mouse in Google Chrome. And what I'm going to do is show you a whole heap of keyboard shortcuts and mouse shortcuts that'll help us out. So should have my screen in front of you there, and I'm just going to kind of show through the ideas. So first thing I like to look at is Chrome tabs. And when you a little bit like me and you've got your billions of tabs up the top, it's going to be pretty hard moving backwards and forwards through them. The other good thing I like about these tips is that they're really good for student management. So when it comes down to sometimes popping your head over the shoulder of a student who maybe isn't doing the right thing, these tips can be really useful as well. So when you're browsing, you want to be able to access new things. So if you press Control and T, that should open a new tab straight away. There we go. New tab open. I'm ready to go in. If I wasn't really ready for that, I can move backwards and forwards through my tabs by using Control and Tab to move forward in the order, or Control Shift and Tab to move backwards in the order. And for those Mac users out there, you're looking Command, Option, and your arrow key to be able to do that. The other one I really like, when you're doing a lot of research, you've got, as I said, heaps of tabs open, but being able to jump between tabs really quickly is really useful. So if you actually use Control and then your number keys, you can actually jump to the tab that is that number. So if I want to move to my first tab in the order, I'm holding my Control button, press 1. If I want to move to the 4th tab, I've pressed 4. So holding Control and jumping to the tabs. If you press Control 9, it will always take you to the last tab that's actually there. So really useful in that one. One that I really like is the idea of when I'm grading a student work, say from Google Classroom or something like that, typically what I'll be doing, of course, is opening up their work. It'll load up. I'll be providing feedback to them, and I want to jump back to the next student's piece of work. So Control W is the shortcut to close a tab. And that just jumps straight back in and has your previous tab open that you had there before. The other one that's really useful, and this is the one that I really do love just to keep my students on board as well, is Control, Shift, and T, and that will open up the previously closed tab. And I can keep doing that as many times as I want to try and get as many closed tabs reopened again. So really good, I can just lean over a student. Oh, hang on, what was that you had on your screen you quickly closed? Control, Shift, T. Up it comes, and we can have that conversation if necessary, which is a lot of fun sometimes as well. Couple of things with
1 minute.
Thank you. Couple of things with the mouse. A few things I really like about using the mouse as well is bookmarking. So for instance, I've got up here an ABC one here. There's my ABC. If you want to quickly bookmark things, the idea is just grabbing the actual address from the Omnibox and dragging it down to your bookmark bar. And once we do that, we really fill up a lot of our, I suppose, our bookmark bar there. So I actually like to use the favicons. And if you right-click on the actual bookmarks you've got and you can click on Edit, you can delete the name completely. It doesn't do anything from there. But if I save that, you can see that drops it down to just the icon. So if you've got those favicons up there, you can have a whole range of them. You can heaps of bookmarks on your bookmark bar as well. The last thing I'll really show you is probably just dragging things to the desktop, which is really useful if I've got a few things I'm trying to keep track of. And all you need to do is just grab that address again, drag it straight to your desktop, and you'll be able to see that saved up on there. So quick and easy to be able to manage as well. I've put together a whole heap of different ones. So if you jump into the resources Eleni will share, you'll be able to see a whole range of different ones there to really save you a lot of time.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. Now, I did know most of those, and my favorite one is Control-Shift-T, because the amount of times I accidentally close a tab and then, you're like, oh, I have to go find it again. And you're like, oh, no, I don't. And it just opens it, makes it such a time saver. But you did teach me a few things there as well. And I think anything that saves a little bit of time in managing, especially when you're researching or correcting students' work, or I know sometimes I have about 1,000 tabs open. Any way you can get through them in a faster way or a more efficient way is always helpful. If you want to just stop sharing, and then we can ask everyone else if they have any questions. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Adam?
I've got a comment. I wish I could do that with my brain, have those shortcuts.
Don't you have that automatically, Trent?
Yeah, all those tabs open we have constantly. It'd be great. One of the things that while you were doing that, Adam, I was following along, but using a different web browser, and those commands worked across a couple of the other ones as well. So I was using Edge at the time, but I'm not sure if they work in Mozilla and Safari as well. Do you know?
I'm pretty sure that particularly Mozilla, most of those are the same, as well as for Edge, as well as for Chrome. So you do find that pretty much they're the same. There's a few little ones that will be in the resources that I think are pretty much mainly Chrome ideas. So things like muting tabs and stuff like that potentially could be, having not really kind of tried it in Edge or Safari. I'm not a Mac user, so I'm not sure in that way. But realistically, most of them you'll find are pretty common across the whole platforms.
Yeah, awesome.
And I think that's something that we're finding these days, that no matter sort of what browser you're in, a lot of these functions are across all of them, which makes it really efficient for teachers. You know, doesn't matter if you're a Mac school or a Windows or a Google, like you can use it across all, which is great. Paul, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Thanks so much, Adam. That was really exciting to be able to learn a couple of those tricks. Just wondering, with the opening the last closed tab, does that work in incognito mode?
No. That's one that lets you down in that one. So as soon as you close a tab in incognito mode, it does completely forget about it. So yeah, if you kind of, as you know, signing in as a different user or something like that, then you close a tab and it's gone, and no luck for getting it back.
I suppose that's a good thing though, because that's why you use incognito sometimes. So
exactly.
Exactly right. Thank you. Next up, we have Jacinta. And Jacinta, you'll be sharing with us supporting learning with Google Forms. So let me know when you're ready and I will start the timer.
Okay, I'll just share my screen, Eleni. Give me a moment.
Perfect.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, we're ready to go.
Excellent. So I'll just switch back over to questions. So what I've been using a lot with my Year 3 students this year is in Google Forms, you can choose an option to go to a section based on answer. So I thought I'd just show you how to do that. At the moment, we're learning our 3 times tables, and what I've set up for the students is if it's a multiple choice question, and if they get the question wrong, it will actually take them to a video of myself showing them how to work out the answer. So here I've got 3 times 12, and I've just put the different answers in there. You can see the answer is 36. The trick is to make it required to begin with, and then you just insert a new section. So I'm going to add a section here, and I'm going to call this section incorrect, or 3 times 12. And so if a student taps on one of the other answers that aren't correct, what I can actually do then is I can insert a video from YouTube. So if I click the YouTube button, and then if I just swap over to YouTube, I'm going to use a shortcut, my favourite one that I always remember, which is Command C. And then just add in the URL there. And select these videos I just make really quickly on an iPad app called Explain Everything. And I just give the students a prompt, say watch this video to find the answer. Okay, and then I go back up to my actual questions, and now I need to choose the options that I want the question to go to. So I'm going to click on the 3 magic dots, and I'm going to choose go to section based on answer. So because 36 is the correct answer, I would like it just to go to the next section. Now, because this is the last question in my Google form at the moment, I'm going to choose the section 10, well done, you know your 3 times tables. But with the other answers, I'm going to choose the incorrect 3 times 12. You can see in brackets here, it says what the title of the section is. So it's really important when you do this that you do label the sections. Otherwise, it's really easy to get really confused really quickly. And so I'll just fix that up. And then what I also do is down here, I get the students, after they've seen the video, I want them to go back and answer the question correctly. So I just choose, go to section 8, what is 3 times 12? So now if I was to preview what that looks like, so there's a video there for them to revise the times tables before they start. Then they click next. Say if I was to, I know 3 times 4 is 12, but let's say I'm going to put 9 in.
1
Press
minute.
next. And there you can see the video, press next, and I can go through and make the answer the correct answer. So I've done this with a few things in the classroom. I also do it with the reading log. So I've got a Google form reading log where the students have to answer comprehensions based on what they're read. And that's really handy because if I go to my Google form, I can track how often my students are reading. And also if I click on Ayla here, I can see which words she's had trouble with, what the book she's reading, and if she's had trouble reading the book as well. So that's a really handy feature of Google Forms that I really like using. Just quickly, in the resources, I have made some Google Slides that take you through step to step with some animated GIFs, my new favourite tool, that show you how to make the Google Forms with go to section based on answer. And if you go down to the bottom, the wonderful guys at Using Tech Better have come up with create your own stories with Google Slides using the same function, so you can go to their link as well. So that's me. Thanks, Eleni.
Perfect. If you want to just stop sharing and then we can have a conversation. It's really great to see, you know, how you're using Google Forms. And it's amazing because I remember using Google Forms when they first came out and it was very simplified, and the things that you can do with them now just really enhance the way you can track and see student progress through a range of ways, which is really, really interesting. And especially with times tables, I know that's always a hard one to sort of track and see. And, you know, earlier in the year when I was teaching grade 3, I had them fill out little, you know, 1-minute things each week just to see if they'd learnt that particular table. And it was a nightmare trying to correct it every week. And now that I've seen that, I was like, oh, that would have been perfect to use. But, you know, so I'm sure that other teachers watching this will think that they can incorporate this as well. So thank you for sharing. Did anyone else have any comments or questions? No. All good. And I imagine you can do this in Microsoft's version as well. Correct, Trent? Yep, I can see you nodding.
Yeah, you can do branching and those sorts of things, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you're Google or Microsoft, you can do it in both. So really handy and great tips and tricks for teachers, which is really cool. And when you talked about storytelling, yes, I'm actually doing a presentation on Friday all about creative story writing with Google. So really interesting things that you can do and link it in different ways.
I'll make a quick comment to Jacinta. I think it's, you know, one of the things is it's great to see using a tool within its constraints and then being really creative with how you use it. And I think that that's what we need to do as teachers all the time, is thinking, what could this tool do and how could we make this better for learning? And I think that that's what you've achieved with that. So congrats, it's awesome.
Thank you, Trent. It's really funny when I was showing the kids how the Google Form worked. They were all sitting on the mat and I had it projecting on an LCD screen. And they're like, wow, really? Oh, that's cool. And so now I've spent my weekend making more times tables Google Forms for them to try on Monday.
Getting a little addicted to the buzz that that they love it so much.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's great to see that, you know, especially for younger kids, like grade 3 in particular, you don't want them doing that set format of test after test after test, because it can be laborious and boring. And you can make it engaging. As Trent said, you just have to be creative as a classroom teacher in how you incorporate things. So
I think too, like it's, you know, when we think about effective strategies for teaching, like timely feedback is so important, and we can't often get to all of our students. So by them using something like that, it, you know, it can be help them self-pace through something. So I think it's brilliant.
Well done, Jacinta. All right, next up is myself, and I will be sharing with you VR and AR in the classroom. Now, I'll just start my timer. I'll probably go over because
I was going to say, do you want me to set the timer for you, Eleni?
No, I've got my phone here. It's all good. So I'm going to go through 3 different tools in like 4 minutes. So first one I'm going to go through is Google Expeditions, which many people are familiar with, but it has a new function of AR where you use these codes, and I'll show you some photos where you can bring things to life in your classroom. Then I'm going to share a little bit about MergeCube. I was really excited when I got one of these given to me at TeachTechPlay, which was exciting. And then last thing, I got these Space 4D cards, which come to life as well. So I will share some photos and then I'll explain a bit more at the end. So let me just quickly share my screen. All right, so Trent, tell me if you can't see my screen. Or is it all good? Perfect. Alrighty, so I'm going to be sharing VR and AR in the classroom, and here are the 4 things that I'll be sharing today. Now, for me, I went into a school on Friday. I'm only working 3 days in a classroom this semester, and 2 days I'm going out and working with a range of schools. So I was contacted to come in and run expeditions and explore VR and AR in regards to the solar system for grade 3s. So I went in and used the cardboard, and we invited parents in so we could use their mobile devices. I remember I spoke about this on an earlier episode, but I had trouble trying to find which one I exactly shared it on, but used cardboard I have left over from TeachTechPlay, and we put mobile devices in and then we shared it. Now you'll see the left-hand photo is what I was seeing on my iPad, and all the smiley faces are where the kids were looking. So as a teacher, it provides guided instruction. I'm not going to talk too much about Google Expeditions because I have spoken about it and a number of presenters have in the past. But I'm going to speak about their new feature where you can print out the markers, and there are 7 markers, and I just laminated these. And what you could do is put these down, and using the Expeditions app on the iPad, the kids could hover the phone over those markers and the planets would come to life. So then you could talk about it. They could hold it in their hands. They could take screenshots, which was really, really cool. And then they could even write stories and things after about holding these within their hands. So this is quite amazing what it has become. And obviously last month I shared Google to a creator where you can actually edit and change these as well that work. So if you want to know more about that, you can watch that, and there are some more photos. The next one is MergeCube, and this is a cube. You can buy them on Amazon, but you can also get them in the States from Walmart, and they're not too expensive, which is great. I know Walmart had a sale on and they brought them down to about, I think it was $2 or $3 US, which was great. I think they've gone up now, but it's a cube that comes to life with VR. So you just download an app and you enter in your activation code, and you can have the solar system, the human body, and a range of different things. And here I've just got a very short video, and of course it's not going to work now. Oh, there we go. Hopefully you can still see that. So when the kids click on a planet, then it provides them with some information. So, which is really cool. So that brings their learning to life. And now I've just lost my slides. There we go. And the next one I want to share with everyone is these cards. Now I got these Octagon Studio Space 4D cards. They also come with animals and human body and a range of science topics. And they actually bring them to life. So you enter in an activation code that you get within your packet, and then it brings it to life. So on one side of the card, it has the picture, and on the other side of the card is the image. So as you hover the iPad or the phone over the top, that actually pops out. And even with some of them, you can actually drive different rovers and things as well. Which is really, really handy. So kids can actually move and take photos and videos as well within that. So that was really, really fast. I hope it has given you a snapshot of some of the things that are out there. As I said, these are the space cards. So you get a set of instructions and there's an activation code. I'm not going to share my activation code with everyone. But then you've got different images and rockets that come with it. And then the MergeCube, you just download a whole range of free apps. And you can also get jumbo ones, which is really cool. And I know Sam brought me back another one from the US. So now I have 2 MergeCubes, which I'm super excited about. So Particularly when you're teaching space, it's hard for kids to understand and grasp what it actually means and how big they actually are. And through that VR and AR, it actually brings them to life where they can hold them and really immerse themselves within what it is in space and take themselves into the International Space Station and a whole range of things, which is really exciting. So yeah, as I said, I'm also doing a bit of consulting this term. So if you need any help with creativity or any sort of creative lesson ideas, please reach out to me. I'd love to come and work with a range of schools. Any questions?
Eleni, with the Merge Cube, does it have lots of different topics, or is it just mainly space?
So there's a human body one, there's a space one, there's different mind games, so you can also rotate and try to make it work, and it's like a maze. There's a whole range. To be completely honest, I haven't explored that far. I just found the space one. I was like, oh, that connects to what I'm doing at the moment. And the human body one I've shared with my 5-6ers when they were learning about different parts of the human body, but I haven't actually explored it enough to know. But I do know in the States in particular, they're using a lot. And I did get an email overnight from MergeCube saying, new school year in the States, there's all these new resources that have been released. So it is quite new, and I think there's going to be a heap more coming as well. So yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, Eleni, with the cards that make the planets or the sun appear in your hand, that's one. Is there the option, because you're talking about scalability, like the difficulty that we have with comprehending the distances, is there ability to have multiple ones shown side by side to see relative size?
Yeah, I actually did have a photo of that, but it didn't come up on my slides for some unknown reason. Oh, there it is. I'll just share my screen and I can just quickly show this. I skipped over it. I was weary of time. Here you'll be able to see now on my screen. There I've put them all down on my carpet last night, so you can see multiple ones all up there. So yeah, you can see multiple ones and how they come alive as well. Yeah, sorry, I jumped over that slide. I was like, I'm running out of time. But yeah, you can have multiple ones up at the same time, and some of them you can move and drive as well. And with the animal and food one, you can actually have monkeys go to the bananas and they like peel the banana in front of you and then start eating it, which is really amazing. The space ones obviously don't have anything like that. You have the Curiosity rover that you can drive around on Mars, but that's about it. The animal ones are really cool, especially for junior kids. And this was about, I think it was £10, I think I paid for it. So not too bad a price either. I've seen that you can get them on eBay and stuff, and Amazon as well. Yeah, any other questions? No, all good. Easy. So that was very fast. But the next person we have is Paul, and you'll be sharing with us tracking student progress with Trello. So let me know when you are ready and I will start the timer.
Great. Thanks, Eleni. Okay, ready to go.
Perfect.
So one of the key problems that I find is when you're in a busy classroom and you've got different students working on, say, project-based learning, or even try and work through different parts of an assignment, is try and keep track of where everyone is and where different students are at, how students are progressing, what they find difficult, keeping track of all those conversations. I'm also working with Year 11 students in SACE and doing a research project, and a similar sort of problem encountering with that. So Trello's been a bit of a fanboy of the project management crowd, and I've been using it in my strategic leadership role. However, I suddenly realized that actually it's got a great application for this in the classroom with tracking different students. So the first thing is to think about is that there's a number of different columns where you could put effectively like post-it notes in those different columns. And then as you move between the different, say, parts of the project, or in this case, different aspects of an assignment, then you can move different either aspects which you've researched, or in this case, different students as they progress through. So say, for example, we've got Jenny here. She's gone in and she's clicked on the first card and she's discovered, okay, this is the project that I have to work through, essentially looking at sustainability and what might work best in the classroom, in the school. And then once she's done that, she then goes, okay, my next step is to move on to brainstorming. So then move over to here. And then she can click on this part. And so you can see that, okay, it should have been done on Friday. This is what I need to do. Here's some various tasks which need to be checked off to be able to complete this part, and then be able to move on to the next section. So effectively, the students can move through the different parts and be able to show visually, and you could have this up on your whiteboard or your laptop and be able to see in the moment where different students are. One of the things that I'm finding is, of course, that with the terms of use, needs to be over 13 years of age. So in this case, with the Year 4 students, what I decided to do is I decided to say, okay, the students can't move them between each one. They can just have public access to the board, but they need to come and demonstrate to me once they've done their brainstorming part. Then they can come to me, I'll check that off and then manually move them over. A different way that you could do it, of course, is to have, say, logged on to a generic workstation in the classroom where they could go up and move themselves between the different parts of the project. You can also keep track of those different student conversations. So say, for example, here with Tricia, good work, Tricia, with identifying a problem. Now ready to move on to the next phase. And then I could add more and more comments to that, or I could say, hey, why don't you check out this particular PDF or this link or whatever to be able to help you move between it. You also notice that you can label each one of your cards. So in this case, if you want to differentiate and have different groups that
1 minute
that you're working through, then you could easily do it that way. And of course, a whole bunch of different amounts of functionality with due dates and things like that. Also, the good thing is about when making this board public, and of course, making sure that you make sure you don't reveal the students' names too much, but them being able to share this with parents, and then they can also keep track of where their child's at and also how they're progressing across the project. So as we can see here, we can take a project management approach to working through an assignment in the classroom. Thank you.
Perfect. And you finished with 16 seconds to spare. Well done, Paul.
Woo.
That is absolutely fantastic. I know that I've used Trello in particularly with Ivanhoe when we were planning the TeachTechPlay conference. We had a Trello board to sort of tick off what we had done and what needed to be done, and it worked really well. So any sort of projects, any sort of management, I've seen teachers use it as well, for term planners, term units, so what needs to be done. It just allows for that collaboration to happen and all the set tasks to be laid out. So if you just want to stop sharing, Paul, and then we can have a chat and others can share, because I'm sure some others have used it before or have some comments or questions. Anyone?
I'm just going to say, Paul, that was a great idea for the whole project management approach towards, I suppose, student projects. I was, straight away going to my my VCE science students, and part of the all VCE sciences now is they've got to do a student-designed investigation. So supporting them through that and actually authenticating all of that is quite difficult. And I think I can really definitely apply some of that stuff in there, because I've used Trello quite a bit for myself, but a great kind of twist on the whole concept there. So really good idea. Well done.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think it would work really well. I've just started implementing Genius Hour in the classroom, and I've got the old-fashioned board where the students move their names from one to the other, and kids would often come up and move someone else's name. So I think that would be a really good option to use that instead. But maybe because my students are under 13, just having it on the teacher device and myself moving the children around.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, when kids are under 13, as teachers, we can also demonstrate how to use technology in the right way. So it shouldn't also deter teachers sometimes. But we even talk about that, the reason you're not all in here at your own is because you're not old enough, but we're going to do it as a class. I think that also develops that digital citizenship of how to use products and that understanding that you actually need to be a certain age, particularly with social media. Trent, you probably know more about this than me. But yeah, I just think sometimes if you demonstrate how to use it as a teacher, then it educates them as well for when they are ready to use it and how to use it in appropriate ways.
Absolutely. In our project, we often talk to teachers about how they can help their students to become better digital citizens. And one of those things is modeling that behavior. And so rather than saying, oh, well, let's just all use this tool anyway, it's just about showing them how you as an adult would model the use of this technology in a safe way, and then how you engage with them. I think it's perfect. I really like Trello, Paul. That's awesome. I see that there'd be huge benefits around being able to visualize that project and timelining and helping students to really regulate themselves, but also give them that independence. How do you find it with students that may feel like they're a bit exposed by that technology when they're working through a project?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Trent, and something which is obviously really difficult to know how different students are going to react. At the moment, I think all the students that I've been using with seem to understand that, okay, there is actually an accountability aspect to my work. And this way, instead of doing that thing where you look up and, some kid is distracted and you go, oi, Bob, what are you doing? This way, it's easy to redirect them back to, okay, which stage of the project are you up to? Can I help you with a different aspect? Okay, let's try and move you and visually move you onto that next phase.
Yeah, I think it's great for that. I think it actually motivates more students. And we've always said that with any of those collaborative platforms, that when there is that sort of like visibility of who's contributed and how much and what they're doing, it's a great motivator, I think. And that's where technology can be harnessed.
Yeah, I agree.
I think as well, when you're talking about collaborative work, there's really a couple of layers of how collaborative work should work, and there's basic group work, and then there's more involved group work where there's more individual accountability as well as group accountability. And when you've got, say, multiple groups working, Paul, you can really manage and have that individual accountability for the task associated within the group. And I think the students then can really visualize about how their individual accountability to the group task is actually being monitored by the rest of the group, by yourself, and by the class as well. So and I think that accountability is really important to the students to be able to learn that and see how that really works in practice.
Perfect. And last but not least, we have Trent today. So thank you, Paul, for sharing that. And Trent, you'll be sharing with us today how to use MicroBit and the MicroBit challenge that you have created. And I know that you've worked with Corey on this and I've seen what his students have done. So it's great to have you here. And I know I've got some MicroBits and I'm excited to see what you do, so then I can take some ideas back to my school too.
Cool. Well, thanks, Eleni. And so I'll just try and show everybody this on the screen. This is a MicroBit for anyone that's never actually seen one before. It's a little mini microcontroller. So there's some technical stuff on the back there that you can see. It's got pins that we can use for circuitry and buttons that we can use to create games. And that LED screen is obviously where we can communicate through the MicroBit. So if anyone's ever used like a Makey, I think it's got Makey elements, and you'll see in a moment when I show you the platform, but it also has a few more additional inbuilt functionality that kind of work independently. As you can see here, it's running off a battery pack as well, so it doesn't have to stay connected to a computer. You do download code onto it through a USB port, but once that's loaded onto it, you can travel around with it and do some cool stuff. So I might just put my little slide deck up because I've taken some screenshots and things to share with you. So I've been working with the MicroBit for quite a while and using it in schools, and with any piece of technology, we always want to think about the learning we wrap around it. But I just want to sort of cover off kind of
Trent, we can't see your screen yet.
Okay, let me share. I didn't press share screen. That'd be why. Hang on a second. I got so excited. Share screen.
I didn't know if you were planning that, so I thought I'd better interrupt. I paused the timer. Don't worry.
That's all right. Oh, thank you. Can you see it now?
Yeah, you're all good now.
And we're up?
Yeah.
Cool. So there's a little picture of the MicroBit, all of the things that it can do. With the MicroBit, it actually has some other cool sort of inbuilt functionality. So it's got a motion sensor in it. So if you actually shake it, if you've created some code, for example, on Shake, display a love heart, it has that ability to do that. It also has Bluetooth. So we've got an app on a mobile phone that you can use with the MicroBit, and you can have communication between that. It's got a light sensor on it. and it's got radio and networking. So for this little device, it's got a fair bit of punch to it. So you use a coding platform, if anyone's familiar with Scratch, the drag and drop builder block coding kind of software. So it's makecode.org, where you can run this through any web browser, and you can actually use drag and drop coding. It also has the functionality to be able to write in JavaScript. So we're working with some Year 7s at the moment with this, and some of them have been already sort of know how to code in Java. So for those entry-level students, there's still drop and dragging the code. But some of the students are being able to go a little bit further and independently code themselves. So they're really loving that at the moment. So I want to talk to you a bit of a project that we wrap around the MicroBit, which we call the MicroBit Challenge. And it's around real-world problem solving and innovation using technology. And we use the, in this case, I'm based in Victoria here in Australia. So we use the Victorian curriculum. But it's very much linked to the Australian curriculum around the design and technologies and working through a process. So each step of the way, the students are explicitly linked to either investigating, generating, producing, and those sorts of things. And we use OneNote as a tool to be able to deliver on that. So what we want to see is having the students actually capture the evidence of the learning that's going on. So I've put a little link on the screen in the slide. Hopefully you can see that. And then Eleni might put it in the resources for this too. A template to a OneNote notebook that you can actually use to help scaffold the learning for the students in your class. And so it's designed to be a group task where the students all work together and work through a series of structured phases to evidence the work that they're doing, from investigation through to planning and designing the work that they're doing. What you can see on the screen here are some examples of when we've run the challenge for 3 hours using the OneNote template and the MicroBit of what people can create. And this is one that we actually did at the TeachTechPlay conference with some teachers. They created something called the Baby Safe, which was using the motion sensor on the device to create a baby safe blanket for mums, so that they would get an alert on their mobile phone when the baby rolls over in bed in that blanket. So I thought that was a pretty good innovation and idea. Working with students, they create all sorts of amazing things. We can do this challenge within 3 hours, but the project
One minute.
Thank you. The project we're working on at the moment is running over a 10-week unit in with some Year 7s in their Innovate subject. So you can really stretch it out and help them go really deep, but you can also achieve a lot with this technology in about 3 hours. So spending about 1 hour learning how to code and use the MicroBit, and then 2 hours to create a bit of a design sprint and design challenge is something that we've been able to do. So kids have been creating all sorts of things for ideas around, supporting people in hospital, right through to supporting people who have got motor neuron disease and creating little games to help them with their development, and using some circuitry. There's lots of ideas online as well. So if you just type in MicroBit into Google, you'll find so many lessons, because every student in Year 7 in the UK a couple of years ago received a MicroBit. So that's amazing. So lots of teachers have already created some pre-created resources online that you can download and use. As I said, in the resource that I've put up there as well, you are welcome to download that. It's got 10 modules for students to work through, to how to use the basic functions all the way to the best bits around that. So it's a fully comprehensive resource that you can download from my OneDrive if you want it. Eleni, can I have an extra minute to talk about the opportunity for teachers to come and join us?
Of course you can.
So in Victoria, there's a bit of an opportunity on the 4th of September, which is a Tuesday in about 4 weeks. We're running a design, create and tech workshop running the MicroBit Challenge for students and teachers. This year it's connected to the Arts Learning Festival, which is happening in 2019. So we're wanting to create prototypes and products that can be on display in the Arts Learning Festival in Melbourne, which will be at Fed Square. So we're sort of doing some pre-work to get some student work up and running. We're using Indigenous fauna as our real world problem, and the pressure around how the modern world and the integration between fauna is really affecting the sustainability of our environment and impacting on animals. So how can we use technology to help is our theme. We're going to be running on the day an opportunity for teachers to bring students with them for 3 hours in the morning. So you can see that we're running sort of 2 streams throughout the day. The student experience will be the design challenge, and the teacher experience will be observing the learning and using the template in the afternoon to design some curriculum that they can take back to school. So that's running through Independent Schools Victoria, but it's open to any sector. So department, Catholic, and independent schools are welcome to come along to the workshop day. We've got very limited places. Elena, you've already snapped up a space, so hopefully everyone else can get in quick. If you do want to join us on the day, there are a few spots left. So if you want to express interest, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or email me at trent@collectiveeducation.com.au.
Perfect. Thank you, Trent. And yes, I did snap up some spots because I know what you run is fantastic, and it's a great opportunity to get kids involved and also interacting with other schools. I think sometimes that it's great that within schools we get our kids to do things within their own sort of comfort zone with their own friends, but getting them to expand and see and hear ideas from other kids is really, really beneficial for them, because, you know, it's one thing to work with people you know, but also to see and listen to ideas of others is also a really good skill that kids need to learn today. So yeah, I'm super excited that I've secured a spot. I just have to actually get the tick of approval from my principal
We just
tomorrow.
need to also just mention that it's for years 5 to 8 as well.
Perfect. So yeah, if any year 5 to 8 teachers out there watching the show would like to involve their students, please reach out to Trent on Twitter or through his email. And if you have any troubles, just reach out to me and I'll put you in contact as well.
Thanks.
Really cool ideas, Trent. I know that you've inspired me, and I have a kit of MicroBit, so gets me thinking what we can use them with before the end of the year as well.
The other thing is, people often ask how much are they, and they're only $29. So
yeah.
For a class set, it's about $300. So it's so like user friendly across multiple things. It's so open ended. So I think if anyone's looking for tech to integrate into their classroom that can work across multiple year levels, that has so many functionalities and applications, it's probably a good investment if you've got a small budget.
Yeah, and that's what we love. Like, we don't want to spend thousands of dollars on things that don't work. And as I said, even with expeditions, I don't have a kit. I just have my own cardboards and get parents to bring in phones. There are ways you can incorporate things on a budget in schools. You just have to be creative in thinking.
Yeah, I think it's looking for things that don't just have one specific operation. It's looking for how can it be really open-ended. And I think,
yeah, and I think some schools do get worked up. They see one cool thing, this is amazing, and then they purchase it and then they get it in their schools and think, great, how can we use it? So same with the B-bots. Like, I use B-bots all the way up to year 6. Obviously, it's not simply getting them to understand code, but we use them for Cartesian planes and do a big one on the ground, and it works exact giant battleships, I like to say. You know, so be creative in the way you use things. Don't just lock it in a cupboard, and, you know, reach out to people like Trent, Paul, Adam, Jacinta, see how other people are using things, you know, on our community, because it's amazing what you can do with technology, and you don't have to have big budgets, as Trent said. You can get things quite cheap and it can be used across year levels. Anyone else have any questions or comments for Trent?
Yeah, Trent, just a question on that same sort of budget thing. Is it better to get, like you mentioned, roughly about 10 per class? Does it work best like that, where it is sharing between 2 and 3, or does it work best where every student has their own one, like they've done in the UK? Just sort of wondering, and can they be easily reused between different year levels for a term or something like that?
That's right. So a lot of schools that I'm working with at the moment that are using the MicroBit, they'll be sharing the resource amongst all different year levels, and they might have them for a term. I'm a big advocate for collaboration and building collaboration skills in students. So I like to see when they're working collaboratively with one another, because you see them generate and learn faster, generate more ideas, I think, and learn faster through that. So I like that it fosters that collaboration. So I don't think you need to have one per student. You can use multiple microbits so they can talk to each other. So they've got radio activities and networking capabilities. So you can play things like rock, paper, scissors games, but then come up with some amazing ideas that you can design with that to create. They've got a range of about 20 meters. So when you've got multiple of them, you definitely get more out of it, but you don't need to have one per student.
And I think that's really key. You know, whenever teachers are integrating tech, you actually don't want them, I personally don't want them working solo. I think that, you know, some kids really struggle with the coding, and, you know, sometimes even us teachers struggle with it too, even though sometimes we don't admit it to our kids. We just pretend we know and then go, oh, that's really cool. How'd you do that? And we learn from them as well. But it allows you to learn from them, and they teach others within the class. And I think if they're working in a small group, sometimes, you know, one kid might have the creative idea but not know how the code works. So by working together, they can work it out and teach each other. That's just what I found as well sometimes. And when we used Sam Labs last term, that really helped, having them work in small groups. That talk and conversation was very valuable.
The other thing I think that's worth mentioning with the way Trent said about their affordability is that, you know, we've all got to remember that within our budgets there's always going to be a lot of constraints sometimes, and there's a lot of philanthropic organisations out there that will support, particularly at the moment, around STEM. So any kind of products you see out there, and you can really think about really good uses, and particularly multi-uses across year levels or across different types of classes, it's great to actually look at all the grants that are out there. There's heaps to look at, and a lot of people do forget about them. There's either local philanthropic organisations, or there's the departments. The government's throwing a lot of money behind a lot of these kind of things at the moment, and it's definitely worth investigating anything that's out there if you're in a position where you don't necessarily have the money available to throw into these kind of tools, which are really great for learning and really support a lot of what the new digital technologies curriculum that's out as well. So I think that's really worth remembering for a lot of people out there as well.
Yeah, really good point, Adam. I know HP and a range of companies, especially at this time of year in Australia, have got lots of grants coming out for next year. So make sure you do have a look and see what is out there, because it's not hard to apply, and you may not be successful, but then you may be successful as well. So getting ideas from TeachTechPlay, for instance, with all the other creative ideas that we do share, you could use those to support your school in getting those grants. Jacinta, did you have something to say?
I was just going to say that we actually applied for the Makerspace grant with the Australian government last year, and that was just a little $5,000 grant, but it meant that we could buy an awful lot of MicroBits. We bought other resources as well, but it was a really easy process to apply, so it's definitely worth getting in there and giving it a shot.
Yeah, perfect. And I know there's like Lego grants, and pretty much every company will have some sort of grant or donation thing that they can provide for a school. So really handy to look that out. So thank you, Adam, for sharing that. Well, that actually brings us to the end of the show. And this show will have voting up on the website. So I'll just share the slide again so everyone can head to the website. And as we said, don't just look at this month's episode, but look at previous episodes. There are such a range of resources and lesson ideas up there on teachtechplay.com/web show, and also voting for your favorite presentation today. And I say this every month, but every month I learn something from our community, and please reach out. You know, some of us are full-time in the classroom, but we are always willing to help. But, you know, I'm lucky this semester I'm gone part-time, and I get to actually go and work with all these wonderful people that I've learnt through TeachTechPlay community. And I know, Trent, you do the same. You know, it's a community of educators, and we're here to share our knowledge and advice. So please reach out to us if you do have any questions, if you do have anything you want to share on the show. We'd always love to hear from you. So from myself and everyone on today's episode, a huge thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you for episode 43 next month. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
See you later. Thank you.